What's going on, everybody? My name is Jack Kelly, host of Point to the Spot, a U.S.-based podcast focused on the world of football. Joining me today, as always, is my entirely bonkers intern, Reed Hammond. Reed, how are you?
No, I'm triggered, right? Because I'm wearing a peach dress shirt because I'm a businessman and I have things to do, people to see.
You're a frat bro?
They're calling me frat. Well, Jack is wearing a Fratagonia pullover. Okay, so I want you to check yourself. Look in the mirror, do some introspection before you start putting your deficiencies onto me.
And we'll just go ahead and cut the intern off. Also joining the show today, a future presidential candidate, Ball for Prez 2020. I can't stand Donald Trump's America. Andrew Ball. Andrew, how are you, my good man?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm not frat. I'm wearing a Wisconsin Journalism School crew neck, so I think that's like the opposite of frat.
Pretty much as far as you can make it. Well, boys, let's just catch up. I feel like I haven't talked to my children in such a long time. Reed, do fill me in about your this past weekend's reckless events that you participated in. I feel like I missed out on something.
I had 2 exams last week, so by the time Friday night rolled around, I was just kind of like, I need to do something dumb. So I went and did something dumb. But I woke up Saturday with a little bit of a sore throat, so I kind of took a couple days off.
And Andrew, how have you been since I've seen you last?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, just bumming around, writing some stories.
It's good. It's good.
The journalist life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shall we move on to the football? People don't really care about what we have to say.
About our lives.
I think they only care about our lives. I think they're here peripherally for
the optimism of an intern.
This is not true. Okay.
That's going to lead the show, I think.
We love you, Reed. We love you. Well, let's dive right in. We'll start on Tuesday. There was a flurry of Premier League matches this week. Reed, it's your favorite club. They wear jerseys that are frighteningly similar to West Ham's. Burnley won, Stoke City 0. Burnley getting it done once again at the Turf Moor. What is going on? Why are they so good when they're playing at home? Pretty much cementing their place in the Premier League for next year on 35 points. How do you feel about Burnley's performance?
They're so good. They're unbeatable. They have won all but 3 of their points this season at home. So let's take that in. That's 32 points if I'm looking at the table. Yeah, that's 32 points won at home out of a total of 35. So, yeah, put the bets in right now. Your 2017-2018 Premier League champions, Michael Keane's Burnley FC.
Against Andrew Ball's whole city.
Yeah.
That also could be the championship playoff in 3 years, too. It could go either way.
They will be fighting for one title. Which one, we're not sure. Well, let's move on to a team that is still fighting for a title. Not the Premier League title. Last year's winners, Leicester City 2, bottom feeders Sunderland 0. I think the most important part about this match is not Leicester's 2-0 victory, but the comments that David Moyes had after the match. Have you heard anything about this?
The little spat with the
yes. So he had
female reporter.
He had a stat with a female reporter from BBC.
No, it's from the Mail, Daily Mail. I'm pretty sure.
I'm fairly certain it's the BBC.
I'll double
Regardless.
Check. He had his bet with a female reporter after the match on Tuesday. Words in the interview was over, and they thought that the recordings weren't going on. How naive of him as a manager in the 21st century. Words along the lines of naughty and going to get a slap came out of his mouth towards I don't know. It sounded like he was trying to be playful, but David Moyes is just creepy. A lot of people have been calling for action from Sunderland to fire him now, based off of this. I don't know. What do you think? What do you make of this whole situation with David Moyes?
Well, unfortunately, this is an attitude we see all too often in professional sports. We see this in American sports as well, going back to Jack Morris being like, the only time I ever want to talk to a woman naked is when she's either on top of me or below me, which is not a great sentiment, from your heroes. And let's be real here. David Moyes is going to get fired at some point. And you know, the reason Sunderland are bad is not because of the journalists. You know, the reason they're bad is because David Moyes does not know how to manage a team. So the whole way around, this is not a good look, and it's disappointing to see. You know, in this day and age, disappointing all around. You know, Sunderland should take some action, I think, and you know, they should take action given the fact that he's a shitty manager, and take some action given recent events. But commentary just on Leicester here. I mean, what form?
New manager bounce.
Jack, let me loose.
Go read and have at it.
Let me loose on this.
I won't hold you back.
I'm not editing this, so I have to put in corrections real time. It was a BBC reporter. I was wrong. But no, I brought this up on Twitter with our good friends over at the EPL pod. It's this sense of football machismo, you know, that just weird and overtaking sense of masculine pride that we find so often in these managers and footballers. The example I gave was it's the same reason why Seamus Coleman's leg's broken, because it was Ireland versus Wales, and you know they're hyped up, they're they're pounding their chests like gorillas, and you know dumb things happen. It's that mentality that's holding out from the 70s, the 60s. It's slowly seeing it. We're not because the players are kind of starting to lose it. It's becoming more rare and rare, but the managers are from back then.
I'm really impressed, Reed, how you managed to connect violent sexism with Seamus Coleman's leg getting broken. I think that was an impressive leap that I think it's very on brand.
But to build off of Reed's point, I think that even as much as it is sexism within sports and that have to be super strong man kind of mindset that comes out of professional sports, I think it is kind of telling, and this is by no means a bash on the UK because I think they do a lot of things better than we do here in the United States. But I don't know, I feel like they are a little bit less conscious of major social issues that are happening in their society across the pond than we are here. And I mean, there's a number of things that go into that, but I think this might be like a small reflection of that. Of course, no bash to any of our English or British followers. I just think it's kind of the nature of their culture.
Yeah, I think it's also an interesting and illuminating on the relationship between the media and players and coaches in the UK versus in the US, because transactional isn't the right word, but there's very much a sense that if you're a manager, that the reporters need you and not the other way around. And partially, I think this is because it's a less prominent league, but you look at MLS or really all major American sports, and there is a little bit of that arrogance, but also our sports are a lot more accommodating and you get a lot more access. And I think that especially when it comes to female reporters, because anecdotally, there are a lot fewer of them, even in soccer when compared with other American sports. And it's not like there are a lot of them in baseball or basketball, but that hierarchy is even more unbalanced in terms of you have a manager or player and it's well, you need me and you're a woman. And I think, what I'm saying? That the discrepancy in terms of the power dynamics are very screwy.
I think they remain very prevalent, both in American and British sports. And I mean, both in American and British society.
Also
so,
true.
If it was not such a world. Anyway,
and we're really ones to talk on it. We've never had a female guest on the pod, so we'll have to get on that.
We're working on that.
But more football.
Yeah. Let us continue. Watford downing West Brom 2-0. West Brom, the Giant Slayer, beating Arsenal, getting a point at Old Trafford, losing to the Hornets. What the hell? What the heck? Reed, I'll turn it over to you. You love these, mid-table obscurity teams. Why is Watford playing so well? Troy Deeney getting another goal? Just tell me something about this.
Watford are the most confusing organization in all of sports, and I have no answer.
Anything you'd like to add, Andrew?
I think Reed's got this one pretty much pegged about right.
Nothing they do makes any sense. When like they fired Kike Flores last year. Like the ownership fired Kike Flores last year. The ownership owns two other first division teams. And Watford is weird. Like, I made this comment on Twitter about the the City Football Group, the Saudis that own Man City. They just bought a Uruguayan Segunda Division team, which is the most
I think
what?
it's
No,
Venezuelan.
no. Well, no, they announced a affiliation with a team in Venezuela, but they bought ownership of a Segunda Division team. And as we've brought up in third party ownership, Andrew brought up in A Ball's Life, which will be reinstated soon. The Uruguayan Segunda Division is the most toxic and like look at me, I'm clearly doing something illegal league maybe in the entire world.
Yeah, I mean, just be watching whoever, I don't remember the name of the club. I did read the article about it. I'm pegging them to win the Copa Libertadores in about 4 seasons. So just put your bets down now. Anyways, I'll quickly recap the final match of Tuesday. Kind of a shit show. Manchester United won. Everton won. Everton, I mean, it was especially satisfying to me to watch them shit the bed. Given that they beat Arsenal, given that
They would have gone ahead of Arsenal if they would have won.
Yeah.
With like two games in hand.
But given that it also ruined the day of a dear friend of Reed and I's, so always, makes my day better when that happens. But literally there's nothing more important than Ashley Williams' fuck up at the end. Why did you go handle the ball? Joe Robles was there. Very well probably would have saved the shot. And who would ever pick Zlatan not to score from the spot? So stupid. So stupid. It was like watching a pub team play where you don't have any consequences. You don't have to serve a match suspension, or it might even be a 2-match in an incident like this. I don't know. Ashley Williams, very stupid of you. You were a waste of money. Should have stayed at Swansea. Go back to Wales.
Yeah, it hasn't been Ashley Williams' greatest season. I think it's safe
That
to
being
say.
said, he did score against Arsenal.
But even still, I mean, he just has not been close to the form that he was showing for Swans for Everton. This match featured 2 thoroughly mediocre soccer teams.
Yes.
And the result indicated that, I believe.
and I think it's interesting because it's kind of like a tale of 2 teams. I think United's going to get better because they have a good manager, as much as I hate to admit it, and they have a lot of money. And I think Everton is going to continue to become more mediocre because they're going to lose their best player. And let's be honest, Jonathan Coleman's not staying at Everton forever. He's too good of a manager to be coaching a small club like Everton. Medium size.
There is youth talent there, though, I think, for Everton.
That's definitely where I disagree with you, Jack. I think Everton have a couple kids coming up through the pipelines that are very good, and they just got bought out, so they have a lot in the transfer kitty now. So I think with the manager, who I have my doubts on, Ronald Koeman, I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's yet to be proven as a manager, but I think with a transfer kitty of that nature, and presumably relatively free range over how he wants to spend it, I think he could kind of have a Poch kind of revival that he builds a team that he wants.
So I agree with you in some respects, Reed, but I just don't see the kind of grand master plan that Spurs had going forward. I don't see that in place really at Everton.
I mean, they have 2 promising young English players. We see how often they pan out. They didn't have 14 like Spurs did.
I think that they could put that plan in place, but we're talking about a 10-year kind of transformation. I think there is a lot of youth there, but I don't think that 4 or 5 good youth players are necessarily gonna be what takes Everton to the next level.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say is that I don't think that Daniel Levy, when he sold Gareth Bale, said, I'm going to use this to revitalize Spurs. I think he's a pretty weird owner, and I think he's notoriously hard to deal with in every aspect of the game, managers to other teams. And, if Spurs can do it with that not ideal corporate setup, I think Everton with a decent corporate setup, a manager with a good reputation, and some good young talent coming up internally, I think it's on the cards. I don't think it's... But I just think Jack's passive writing them off was a little bit harsh.
Well, okay. Well, I can't believe I'm gonna defend Spurs here. To say that they don't have a good corporate side of the club is, I think, incorrect. I mean, they've swung the Wembley deal. They're getting a new stadium. they've grown. They're playing in the International Champions Cup. You have Everton's not making a North American tour. I don't know. To me, Everton is not at the level it needs to be if it wants to compete as a big club.
And I don't see the infrastructure there to put in place such a robust academy. I think that like it's great that they have good young talent, but that does not mean that they have an academy system that, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone has
that's
good
fair.
young players coming up. Yeah, like their competitors have good young players coming up. Like to really reach to do what Spurs kind of have done. I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm waiting for them to crash out. But like to take that leap, you need more. You know, you need a whole. I mean, I said master plan. I think that's what you need to lay out. You know, at the academy level, at the transfer level. You know, how are you going to run things efficiently? You know, it takes more than just a few good youth players. That's kind of
I just disagree. I think they do have that level of infrastructure. We can move on, but they do have a stadium deal that is through the works, a new owner. So I think they could surpass this best of the rest spot, but move forward.
Yeah, I think we beat that dead horse enough.
Goodison could use a facelift, that's all I'm saying. Anyways, guys, stick around. Join us in part 2 of the show when we will be reviewing the glorious Wednesday matches that were. So enjoy the music. I gotta plug my computer. My stupid battery thing went away from my home bar again, so I can never tell.
How close you are. Sorry, Reed. I didn't mean to get us dragged into like a 5-minute conversation in the future of Everton.
Future of Everton
Well, I
is
think
shit, because Everton is shit.
No, I think that's a super valid conversation that I don't think anybody talks about. Like they just signed a new TV deal. Or I mean, not a new TV deal. They just got a what's it called? A proposal just passed through the council. Like they have a new massive money owner,
Which is,
and
I mean,
they
they
have
need
Ronald
that.
Koeman. Yeah, like I'm saying, like,
Coleman's not going to stick around.
okay,
I think.
where is he gonna go? Who's gonna take him? No one. West Ham? No. Like, what's the move from Ronald Koeman? He hasn't proven himself yet. And Everton have the money, have some youth talent, and have some really good players. Lukaku's going to go on, but I think
Coleman could go to Spain this summer.
It's Atletico? That's a pretty stark That's like a pretty like jagged.
I think you do very well with Atletico.
I think so too, don't you?
Yeah.
Low-key, that's actually a really good shout because Simeone is definitely leaving, so we should definitely put in our betting slips tonight.
I'll have you handle that, Reed.
Because no one talks about that. No one talks about Coleman going to Atletico, but that actually makes a ton of sense. What are you doing, Jack?
Okay, Jack.
What is happening?
We can just figure that out later.
You right?
I
You
agree.
got me 100%. You got me.
Um,
Is there a little orange light on? I just want to make sure it's charging. Yeah. Okay, we're good. Computer won't die. All right. We're back in. I don't know where I want to start. What game should we start?
just
with?
do Arsenal.
Back in 5, 4, 3. Welcome back to part 2 of the show, everybody. As I mentioned, let us discuss what a wonderful Wednesday it was. We'll start.
I concur, Jack.
We'll
I don't know
start
that Reed does.
with a North-South London derby. Arsenal 3, West Ham United 0. Come on, you Gunners. Spectacular. Couldn't have been a better team for Arsenal to beat to get my spirits back up because it had been a rough run of games. But I don't know what it is. There's nothing more satisfying to me than when West Ham loses to Arsenal. Maybe it's because I love Reed so dearly, but also, I don't know, the banter. Anyways, really quickly, Mesut Ozil, where have you been? Who are you and what have you done with Mesut Ozil over the last month? Because he looked fabulous yesterday. Created the second most chances, second to only David Silva on the match day with, I think, a total of 5. Scoring a goal that Reed and I argued about, and then I literally took a screenshot of the replay to enforce that Alexis Sanchez was not offsides. Theo Walcott followed it up with a pretty classic Wenger ball. Ozil gives it to Alexis. Alexis gives the back heel. Ozil puts it across. Walcott, good little finish with the inside of his foot in the bottom corner. And then Reed's favorite player, Olivier Giroud, the most handsome man in the land, with a shot that nobody's keeping out. It was a pretty pure strike, and not something that you expect too often to see from Giroud. But now that I'm thinking about it, over the last few seasons, he has scored some crackers. That half volley against Manchester United from like 23 yards out comes to mind, where he came over his left shoulder and he hit it into the top corner.
Jack, all I have to say to that? Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Okay, eventually you can't call him a blind squirrel. He does it so consistently. But, Reed, what are your takeaways from this match?
It's going to be tough going to the Emirates, isn't it? In my opinion, it should have just been, in my opinion, 3-0 is a fair result. If we're in the counting mechanism, I think it was 3-0, only because I don't really count the first goal because I think there was question marks over a handball, question marks over him being onside. Jack has proven to me he was onside, but emotionally I haven't internalized that yet. But I think if you account, kind of how away goals work in the Champions League, in my head, there's kind of the attractiveness of the player that scores acts as a coefficient for the goal. And Theo Walcott's hair, he has this wave thing going on. I think the wife cut him up last night. It looks really good. Fair play to Theo, And Giroud, who's just, peach of a goal, peach of a man. So I think those kind of
peach shirt.
Yeah, peach shirt, peach man. Yeah, all coming together, full circle. Glad we're using visual cues for this podcast. Always so useful.
We're becoming a video pod, guys.
Drew's goal probably counted 1.7. Theo's 1.3. So yeah, 3-0 is about a fair result, I'd say.
I would just like to point out that they did kind of batter Arsenal at the Emirates last season, and the very satisfying 8-1 aggregate win this season leaves me feeling a little bit more fulfilled. And if we can at least get a draw against Spurs in that NLD, I will feel like I have won this podcast for the year.
Except, what position are Arsenal in?
Hey, don't you sweat, baby.
Yeah, well.
They're 6 points back. They're 6 points back of third place Liverpool. 2 games in hand with Palace and, I think they have to play Borough. I don't know. Good run of fixtures coming for Arsenal. Granted, they do have to go play on Monday against Big Sam's Crystal Palace. Anyways.
As well, so.
Yeah, it's away. Anyways, we'll move on. I didn't want to poke too much fun at Reed.
So I think you guys got to talk about your favorite teams. I want to talk about my favorite team, Hull City Tigers 4, Middlesbrough 2. Hull City are out of the drop zone, and even if they do eventually get relegated, I think the fact that they got out of the drop zone at one point validates my prediction, and I just wanted to say that in the air. But they looked good. It was a really complete victory for Hull.
Can I just jump in? I'm just gonna make a point here. We've talked about over and over again how they've got a favorable run of games to finish the season off. Well, let me tell you something. They look really good against teams that aren't in the top 6. I mean, kind of battered Middlesbrough 4-2. They beat West Ham 2-1. Those are decent results. But then it dates back further. They get a win against Swansea. I mean, they lose to Leicester, but that's kind of fluky. Nobody knows with Leicester. I mean, they lose to Everton, decent side. Can't be too bent out of shape about that.
And there was a red card in there.
But they look pretty good. Also get that sneaky, 0-0 with United, get a cheeky win against Liverpool, get a draw against Burnley. They're pretty good.
And I mean, they played the winter transfer market very well. You look at a guy like Umar Niasse, who has, I think, looked very good for Hull. And a lot of the times, winter transfers don't work out. But this is one that has, I think, and he looked really good yesterday. The man, the myth, Lazar Markovic, with his first goal for Hull coming way out of nowhere. But I agree with you, Jack, and I think that they can hang with a wide variety of teams. Having beaten Liverpool, and now you see, they can hang with the top teams and not embarrass themselves, and they can take care of business against the bottom tier teams. So that's why I'm standing by my prediction that Hull City will be in the Premier League next year.
I mean, I think it's important. I don't think they're one of the worst 3 teams in England at the moment. Let's say we swap out Borough and Sunderland for Brighton and Newcastle. They're one of the 3 worst teams at the top flight of England.
But last time I checked, the structure of the Premier League
aren't there.
Is not like that.
Well, Andrew, we'll stick with you. Spurs getting a wild win. An equalizer from Dele Alli to make it 1-1 in the 88th. Sun Young-min putting them ahead 2-1 in the 91st, and then Christian Eriksen bagging a goal in the 94th. Spurs 3, Swansea 1. They look like ass all but the last 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they were fairly poor most of the game. I mean, like, fair play to Swansea. They achieved their game plan to the letter. They got an early goal. They made Ben Davies look like shit, and then they bunkered down and put 11 men behind the ball the rest of the way, and that's what you got to do. And fair play to them, it almost worked. And, I mean, what scenes in the last 6 minutes, I tell you. The result was never in doubt, my friend. But the game really changed, I think, when they brought off Musa Sissoko.
R.I.P. Musa Sissoko.
Yeah, really.
R.I.P. that $30 million check they sent.
Also true. And, Vincent Janssen been getting a lot of shit from Spurs supporters. He's actually been pretty good the past few games. And, like, the main knock on him is that he hasn't been scoring goals, which is, like, seems kind of big when you're a striker. But his hold-up play is excellent. And his backheel flick on Son's winner was, to use a Jack Kelly word, sublime. To go to Wales after playing on Turf Moor this weekend, which is not a short journey, and get a result, even as ulcer-inducing as it was, I'll take as a win.
I mean, at the end of the day, got 3 points.
And they get Watford this weekend, which is,
encouraging.
Although, knowing Watford, they'll probably, Watford will probably win.
Reed has strong feelings about this.
Oh, no, I just want to say it was the first time in a long time that you saw West Ham fans cheering for the Spurs result when they were scoring, because it is keeping us out of the drop zone. Really thankful you guys nicked those 3 goals. And on top of that, Andrew, Spurs fans that don't like Vincent Janssen also includes you. So we're not Bill O'Reillying this, saying some people have been critical of Vincent Janssen, as have you, okay?
What?
There's a difference between being critical of somebody and disliking. I'm critical of the entire Arsenal squad all the time. Doesn't mean I dislike them.
By, like, critical, I'm saying that, like, they want to send Vincent Janssen's ass on the next flight back to the Netherlands.
You know a lot about the Dutch league.
I'm an expert in Dutch league, baby. But, like, there's no good in transferring him out. They need to stick with him. I mean, like, you look at some of their players, Son, Lamela, have really developed in the second or even third seasons. Janssen's still young. He showed improvement. Like, there was a time when he looked like ass. And, like, I don't,
I think that also
Reed, when Andy Carroll looks like ass and you say he looks like ass, I don't say that you're critical of him,
I don't know if anybody hates Andy Carroll more than Reed.
Okay, but most of my criticisms come to his hair. I never really make a fuss until he fucking braids that thing, and then I lose it. You know what I mean? Like, you can do whatever you want on the pitch. Like keep bedroom antics off the field.
I think of all the teams that I support, Vancouver Whitecaps and their side of all man buns by far has the best hair.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Reed, we'll stick with you.
move on.
We'll stick with you. Big Sam did not get the job done against Southampton. Trip to the South Coast didn't treat Crystal Palace well. They got off to a hot start. Christian Benteke, of course, getting a goal. I mean, do you feel like, you can trade a result like this given the fact that they beat Chelsea on the weekend?
Oh yeah, Big Sam was still drunk off the wine, dude. Like, he's like, it was just the case that, like, he hadn't stopped drinking, and then they're like, Gaffa, what are we meant to be doing? And he was like, I'm supposed to know? Like, what are you asking me for? Yeah. Palace are staying up. That result locks it in. Palace have been very keen at home. Allardyce's sides generally are, so I'm a little I don't think that tie on Monday is going to be as easy as not Jack, but some parts of Arsenal's Twitter believe it will be. Not a lot of laurels to be rested on when you beat a really poor West Ham side at home. So I think it's going to be an interesting match to see how they respond to this loss. But Palace are staying up, which is bad to see because they're a toxic, rotten organization. And it's similar to Sunderland in that, like, they've just been really bad for like 5 years and just need to go down, cut off some dead wood, and rebuild. But will be next season.
Can I just make a quick point about Southampton? So there have been a lot of reports linking Spurs 2-1 Crystal Palace starlet Wilfried Zaha, but I think the winger they want is found on the South Coast, and that is Nathan Redmond, who had a goal and an assist and generally looked excellent yesterday, as I think he's looked all season.
I think James
Yeah, but
Ward-Prowse is
they're gonna-
on his way to Liverpool.
Well,
Well,
we all know
yeah,
that Southampton's
they-
Liverpool's B team.
yeah.
So
It's gonna be a Gabby Adini, James Ward-Prowse double swoop
Oh,
from
I would love
Liverpool
that.
in the
100
summer.
million,
You're gonna
100
pay-
million to, yeah.
with Virgil van Dijk also maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$78 million triple swoop of the Southampton starting 11. Anyways, Chelsea 2, Manchester City 1. This game got going early and then kind of petered out. Eden Hazard getting a goal in the 10th minute, Aguero equalizing in the 26th, showing that he can still do it in the absence of Gabby goal.
Although that goal was all David Silva, TBH.
Absolutely. But I mean, he's got to be there.
That's true.
Someone's got to poke it in. And then Eden Hazard getting his brace in the 35th minute. I don't know. This is encouraging to me that in City's last 2 outings, they've gotten, one of the possible 6 points. It's good for me as an Arsenal fan. I think Chelsea didn't look particularly dominant. I think it was pretty back and forth. I don't know. This was a pretty typical Chelsea victory.
I think City will be kicking themselves. They didn't get a result here.
I agree. I want to kick City for not getting a result here because it would have put Spurs close enough that we could have had an actual title chase where Spurs goes full blown, then they fall on their faces, and we have St. Totteringham's Day again.
That might happen anyway, bro.
But, Reed, do you have anything that you want to add about Conte's men in this match?
Oh, yeah, very disappointing because I think it would have been very narrative rich to have Spurs turn around the Swansea match in the 80th minute, to walk into the locker room and see Chelsea's result as a loss. It really seems sewn up. Last weekend with the Crystal Palace stumble really gave a lot of people hope, but it seems all but over. Yeah,
and we'll get to the final match of match day 31. Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 2. Goals from Philippe Coutinho and Origi, putting to match goals from Afobe and King. Fun fact: nobody has scored more goals than King has in the Premier League in 2017 so far. I think he has 11 or something.
He's a good striker. West Ham should be taking a look, I think.
Just to keep him from scoring against us. Christ, he carved us up.
Well, if that was a strategy, then West Ham would be buying a lot of players, my friend.
Alexis Sanchez and a West Ham kid. Anyways, I don't know. Again, in your mind, it has to be favorable because Liverpool was, potentially the team that was going to challenge Spurs the most to catch it in second place.
Yeah, Bournemouth were clutch coming in with that late goal. 5 clear with a game in hand for Spurs. It's not sewn up because it's Spurs, but it's a nice place to be in, I'd say.
Yeah,
objectively.
Also good for Arsenal. Liverpool 2 games in hand. Arsenal's only 6 points back. Only -2, if you will, in goal differential from Liverpool. So, a couple of good results, and Arsenal Arsenal is back in, securely into the top 4, poised for hopefully not a 4th place finish, but their traditional 4th place finish. Reed, what do you make of Jurgen Klopp's team's, I don't want to call it collapse, but it's like a tire that slowly gets flat over time?
Equally disappointing as it is predictable that he couldn't get a result against a lower level team. Although slightly more interesting because it was Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, who do play a rather attractive style, but they were definitely ready for the way of pressing. You really got to think that Liverpool are at risk now to have dropped those 2 points. That is, I'm sure, a heavy result weighing on a lot of our Liverpool supporting.
Well, you say Eddie Howe's Bournemouth. I think we all know soon to be Eddie Howe's Arsenal.
Yes, naturally.
Oh, it's going to be the gaffer from Juventus if Wenger leaves, but Wenger's staying another 2 seasons, so we all got to stop talking about it.
But inevitably, it's going to be Eddie Howe's Arsenal.
It will be. Regardless of the time it takes, at one point it will be.
Hey, Arsenal's due for another great English manager to make them amazing. Because we've had that in the past, but then we have had this nice French man for 21 seasons that has done good things for the club.
Eddie Howe and his motto, make Arsenal great again.
Oh, no.
You have the red hats. It's perfect.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's already in the red. Yeah. You won't even need a new wardrobe.
MAGA, make Arsenal great again.
It works.
Oh my God!
God
Don't
bless.
spread that.
Anyways, that's all the time that we have for today's show, guys. Of course, you can find us all on the social, as one Reed Hammond likes to refer to it. Reed, where on Twitter can they find you?
At that one kid read.
And Andrew?
At Andrew Ball.
Of course, guys, you can find me at actual Jack Kelly. I am actually Jack Kelly after all. Don't forget to follow our partners, American EPL Thoughts. You can find them online at AmericanEPLThoughts.com and on Twitter at AmericanEPL. Make sure you're following the show at Point to the Spot with the number 2. Of course, we did just get new branding, so it makes our Twitter a little bit more appealing to the eye. Reed, you have a final thought that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I do. Our good friends at Non-League America just dropped a mini doc on Bear Fight FC, a northeastern-based side. Very good. High praise to them. Good to see from a friend of the pod.
Wilmington, Delaware is a very liberal interpretation of the Northeast, but you should check out the documentary anyway.
I'll make sure to put that into the show notes. But guys, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you all very much for listening, and we'll be back on Sunday, this time actually discussing some Caribbean football amongst other things, including the Premier League's match week. So until then, take care.